My name is Michael Crowder. I'm from Washington State. I'm honored to be the chair of the National NACD Tribal Outreach and Partnership Task Force. It's been roughly 20 years since I took advanced public speaking, and what they told me was, that's live, okay. Never be the last person before lunch, because everybody's wanting to get out of the room. So we'll do this quick. They also said, tell a joke. I'm not funny, so I'm not going to tell a joke. But I'll give you a piece of advice. If you have a cup of coffee in your room this morning, 2 cups of coffee out here, and then you drink a cup of water before you come on, you might sneak up out the side. So, piece of advice, go to the restroom before you come down. If I can get the computer. Okay, good. So, I'll divert for 1 second. This picture is taken from my mailbox. This is an unmanipulated picture. This was with my iPhone. In my real world, I manage a wetland restoration project. It's WRP site, and my Washington folks are up there. I never get a chance or give up a chance to talk about the WRP program in my site. The days of the fake news, I can say this is a true fact. This is the best WRP site in the world, and I'm sticking to that. So again, I'm Michael Crowder. I'm the second vice president of NACD, and I'm the chair of the Tribal Outreach and Partnership Resource Policy Group. So I'm going to shorten that to tribal from here on. Also, I'm a Benton CD supervisor from Washington State. The work of the tribal group was through a funding share between NRCS and NACD, so we thank NRCS for that. And how this got started is there was some issues between tribes and conservation districts in Washington, and it wasn't just with the CDs. We had some ongoing issues, so we were trying to figure out how to work with that, work through some of those issues. And in 2012, through the help of NACD and Earl Garber in particular, we were able to put on a listening session at our annual meeting. And it went over fairly well. Washington State has 29 federally recognized tribes. There's more than that, but there's 29. As a white boy from Indiana, I did not know the tribal issues until I went to Washington State. It's interesting. I have 4 different tribes that have historical claims for my ranch, so I did not understand how we went through these issues. So this was fun and a learning experience for me. In 2013, I actually went on to the committee in Washington. And we have a tribal elder that came up to Dave Vogel, if anybody know here, said, "You are doing this all wrong, you're embarrassing yourself, you need to do it differently." So I found out the hard way, if you stand up and say things, you become chairman of task force. So she is the chairman, or has been for a few years now, the chairman of the task force. Roylene rides at the door, your very own acting science and technology, I believe it is, associate chief. But in her real job, she is the Washington State's conservationist and a Blackfeet tribal member. So we have a plethora of knowledge that we could build upon. So we created this, and in the fall of 2013, Tana and others were able to bring in Stanley Speaks. He's very well known in the BIA community, and the Indian community has a lot of respect. So he came to us in a listening session. And you fast forward to 2014, there was a lot of work that went on, a lot of communication, and you're going to hear the word communication all through this. It's very important. And in recognition of the work that the task force was doing, and they've been doing that a couple of years, WACD decided that they would make that a permanent committee and acknowledge the importance of that in Washington State. And one of the things that I think was most important, they created a district tribal partnership award. And the first year was the Tulalip tribe in the Snohomish Conservation District. This award was very instrumental, and it sounds very easy, but what it was recognizing work that was going on the ground. And when we talked to other tribes, we could say, here's what they're doing, here's the type of work. And in 2015, and in conjunction with Washington State Conservation Commission, Mark Clark is up here, NRCS, WADE, which is Washington Association of District Employees, WACD, and many others. We had a tribal training session. And if you haven't worked with tribes, you realize that your agenda gets thrown out in the first 5 minutes and it never catches back up. There is a thing called tribal time, and it's different than my time, but that's okay. We had an amazing, it was wonderful 2 days, and it kind of built us going forward. And we were able to look at each other at a different light, better understand what the concerns of the tribal members were and the concerns of the districts. So you fast forward again to 2016, WACD led a session in Reno at the NACD annual meeting. And it went really well. It was well attended. And we were sitting out front, and Mark Clark and Roy Lean and Tana and others said, we should take this nationally. That's a good idea. Let's see what we can do. So Tana, if you've never met her, she's very aggressive. She is not shy, and she's great at getting you through doors that you wouldn't normally get. So she talked, and Roy Lean talked to Jason Weller about the possibility of funding to take this nationally. And then we met with Lee McDaniel. He was just coming in as president, Earl Garber, others from both NACD and NRCS. And we decided to go forward with that possibility. And if you fast forward 4 or 5 months, that became a reality, and we moved forward at a national level. And then yet again in 2016, there was a tribal award through the Confederate Tribes of Bands of the Yakima Nation in the South Yakima Conservation District. And what was neat about that, unprompted, every previous winner of that district partnership award was at the table when we gave our third annual award out. So it wasn't just a one and off, we still continue to be partners. And what I'm coming to find out in the tribal world, and I'm speaking for myself, is it takes you a while to get that respect to get into the door, but once you've proven you've worked with other tribes, we're able to get in the door. It's still a slow process, but that's my interpretation on that. And this slide was the award that the Yakima Nation received. Is they're working, the tribe and the districts were working on Tannen Creek. They were working completely separately, and they got together and said, here's our outcome that we want to see, and the vision was very similar. So sometimes districts and tribes are trying to get to the same point, but they're not working together. And in my personal interpretation, they don't have to work together, but they shouldn't work against each other if you're trying to have common goals. And that's one of the, for me, the important thing is the communication on the goals for the future. And this was the NACD. This is Tana on the left and Roy Lean on the right. These were our speakers at the NACD meeting in Reno. And again, I was named chair, and Tana was my tribal co-chair. I felt very strongly that I needed a tribal representative as a co-chair because when I go speak to tribes, I want them to understand that it's not just me, it's other tribes throughout the nation that we're speaking for. So I thought that was very important. And even though the general model was from Washington, it's proven to be successful. There's always going to be challenges and there's always going to be setbacks, but we're continually moving forward. We wanted to take that nationally, and I take it to heart that we not make Washington the only example. We want to show what was successful for us and see if we could help you in other states. So in 2017, we had our first annual meeting, or our first face-to-face meeting in Denver. We've had monthly calls since then, and we've been working on setting our goals and objectives. We have tribal talking points, a template to promote success, and then we're trying to find success stories, and I will talk about that more later. Our next face-to-face meeting will be in Tucson at the Pacific Southwest Region meeting for NACD. So our leadership is myself and Tana Ingdahl. Again, Tana is an amazing person. She's pictured here. She's a Cowlitz tribal elder, and I have asked several times, if you see something that I say or do, please tell me, because I don't know the tribal customs and ways. And Royleen goes, okay, since you asked, here's 9 things that you said earlier. That's a very true story. And those help me because I don't understand those customs. I'm different. I grew up differently. I respect them completely. But if you don't know, you don't know. And just in the couple of years I've been working on this, it's really been amazing at how far I've come in being able to talk to the tribes on my own and not have Tana or Royleen with me. It always helps, but I feel like I can do that. We have NACD staff of Jeff Burwell and Dave Vogel. Since he was the executive director of Washington when we started our task force originally, he's the advisor for this one. And we have representatives from every region of NACD, so there's a lot of states involved, and we spent a lot of time. We didn't just want people to sit on a committee. There's a lot of times, everybody's been here on a committee that some of them there because their name got put on a list. We didn't want that. We wanted to take our time and find the right people, and we wanted to find tribal members that were also supervisors, because they needed to understand what it is to be a conservation district supervisor. So we found that we have a good mix of that, and here are the representatives from each state. We also have NRCS, NASCA, and NCDA as a representative. Royleen was able to help us with this also. And these are the tribes that are currently represented, and there are some non-tribal members on the committee, but they represent a tribe that I could put on here because they work with them quite a bit. And I don't know if she's in the room. Is Patty Lambert in the room yet? Oh, there she is. She's helping us from Alabama, correct? Yep. So thank you for coming. One thing I've learned working with the tribes is tell your story. And I'm going to very quickly tell you mine because mine can go along. I grew up in southern Indiana. There wasn't a lot of tribes there. I got my environmental science degree, and then I moved west. And I got thrown into, I was used to the Midwest hills and farming, and then now when I hit the airport yesterday, it was 125 degrees on the tarmac. I wasn't quite used to the change in atmosphere. It took me a little while to adjust. And let's see, this picture here, this is my ranch in 1964. Those are tribal fishing platforms. We have control of 8 miles of the Yakima River, and we have deeded about 5 miles of access to the river. And if you've heard of Kennewick Man, it's the oldest complete skeleton. It's about 9,000 years old. That was found just a few miles downriver most likely had been on this ranch. So it's pretty neat for me to know that they've been fishing at this site for literally thousands of years, and they still do that today. Now, this is not an OSHA-approved platform, but that's what they use, and I really enjoy working with them. You can see that goes a long way out. This picture was taken after the flood event, so the water was literally inches from that platform when they were there. I would not go out there. I'm fairly adventurous, but I would not do that. So this is the tribal members on my ranch. They dip salmon there, and the salmon goes straight to the cooler. But not just the fishing. I've really enjoyed working with the tribe. This is Chief Rex Buck's wife, and we looked for that plant for quite a while. It's a medicinal plant that they use for medicine for stomach aches, and she was as happiest person I've ever seen when we found it. So now I know what it is, and we can get her some more of that. I have a large wetland restoration, and we have a lot of tules, and it's very easy for me to let them come in and pick tules, and they do it every year. They come for 2 or 3 weeks, not every day, but it's fun being able to contribute to something that they had been doing for so long, and it doesn't hurt us, doesn't cost us anything, it's just goodwill. I enjoy doing that. We have tribal monitors when we're working near the river. This is a picture of a heron rookery and the tribal fishery. They go under there and look for pit tags, because this is great blue herons, and when they're done with their fish, they fall down below, and I can tell you where every pit tag and where that fish was released. So it's actually kind of neat. That's how they track fish in the river. So that's looking. There are herons there, so you've got to watch what you do right straight under them. So the outreach, what we've been trying to do is do targeted outreach. I'm trying for myself to learn more of the customs, to go on my own journey if I use their language. This is actually with Roy Lean at the Blackfeet powwow last summer. I was very honored to get to go to that. It was an amazing time. This is Roy Lean with Deputy Undersecretary Ann Mills. And then I went to visit the chairman of the Yankton Sioux when I was at the region meeting 2 weeks ago. And it was really an honor to meet with him at that level. It was just he and I told him what conservation districts do, what NACD does, what our tribal group, what we're trying to do. And it actually meant a lot. He called me later and sent this. So other outreach events, this is Ann Mills again. Alan McBee, acting state, is he up here? Yeah. So this is Alan with a lamprey eel. The eel is in the viewing tube. That's the eel right there. You didn't think there's lamprey. I had no idea there was lamprey eels 500 miles in from the ocean, but there's a lot. This was a Yakima Nation tribal event to where they're trying to bring back not only salmon but also the eels. They were cultural to the tribe. And here's Alan. Here's the best side of Alan right here. He's releasing a lamprey eel. You're welcome, Alan. So as a group, our outreach events are through the NACD blog, the e-resource, the resource. We have a set of talking points, success stories. We have a PowerPoint slideshow. And I do have to plug NACD's website. It's amazing. Jeremy Whitney and his crew are doing a wonderful job on that. And anytime I need a piece of information, I go to that. And our task, what we're trying to do is deliver more conservation on the ground. That's what it boils down to. We need to identify where we can work with tribes and where we can help districts work with tribes. We need to identify which member states have conservation districts that are in the tribal areas, and we need to help them. If they're not currently working with them, we need to help them communicate with the tribe to see where you can. Our proposed outcomes, I don't know who came up with this, but it's on the back of our card, is every acre, every American, every day, and I love that, and I put that in every speech now. But that counts for not only tribes, but that urban, rural, tribal, everything. If we can put conservation on the ground, that's good conservation. We need to increase our customer service to the tribes. Sometimes they have a bittersweet relationships, and sometimes it's more bitter than sweet, and sometimes it's a little better. We need to do a good job of communication with the tribes. I can give my own examples of where I almost got into a lawsuit with the tribe because they didn't understand what I was trying to say, and I sit down with the chief and he goes, "Oh, yeah, that's no problem, I like that." So it's safe. There's communications is really a key. So our goal right now is we need to solicit examples of success. I need you to tell me what is going on with tribes. If you're a state conservationist, you can have your tribal liaisons get a hold of me. You can send my information to them, but we need to know what is currently going on. We need to know the successes, we need to know the failures. What have they learned? How can we help districts work with tribes in other areas? And on the work plan, basically that, it's lunchtime. I'll skip through a couple of these. And this is what I'm talking about. Do you have an example of what we can share that's success? How did it get started? What types of projects are they doing? That type of information is really key for us. What barriers did they overcome? Was it a trust barrier? Was it a communication barrier? All those things we would like to know. And then I was also asked to promote the conservation boot camp. If you have tribal districts and you need that information inside the tribe, we can work to get them in the boot camp. So the state cons, my ask to you today is please let me know what you or your area knows about tribal interaction. And if you do that, we can help you. And I felt like I need to put this slide in here. I have to be realistic on my goals. Not every tribe will work with you, guaranteed. Not every tribe will work amongst themselves. There isn't a tribal method. Everything is going to be different. You have to come about it a different way. But it's about communication and trust. As I mentioned earlier, there's Indian time. I have worked with a tribe near my house, and we were supposed to meet at 8 o'clock on Wednesday morning, and they showed up at 6 o'clock on Friday morning and wanted to know why I wasn't ready. Well, I was 2 days ago, so timing is different. And just simply, not every tribe is going to work with this, but those that will, we have an obligation to do that, at least attempt to do that, and open the lines of communication. So what is next? That is to be determined. We're hoping to get out talking points and help districts that have a desire or a tribe that has a desire to work with each other. And I'm happy to help you with that. This is my contact info. I'll be around. I have cards if I can help you with anything. And then I don't know if we have time for questions for any of the group, but that's what I have. Thank you very much for the time.